Welcome to the Wellness Show. I'm Dr. Keisha Christian, your host, and so glad that you've tuned in for another episode. Well, we are officially in the Christmas holiday season, and how exciting is that? During this time, it yields joyful periods, but it also can yield stressful and anxious periods as well. So today we have invited a great professional to speak with us on how we can employ strategies to ensure that we have a joyous season, a joyous Christmas holiday season. So today we've invited Michelle Hardman to our show. She is an educator, she's a counselor, and she owns her own business here in Cary, North Carolina. So Michelle, we welcome you to the Wellness Show.
Thank you for having me.
Coming.
I
Yes.
appreciate it.
We know that you have so much knowledge in your field, and we're so glad that you've decided to join us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I think that this is such an important topic around the holidays, and I'm just so glad that you're going to share some information with folks that can really be applied and used immediately.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We all need that.
Yes, absolutely.
So share with us what your motivation and passions in becoming a counselor was.
Yeah, so I actually spent nearly 16 years in human resources management, which was a fantastic career and I loved it. But I will often tell people that, you know, our home life and our personal life shows up at work. And we probably all got experience with that from one angle or another. And I really have always wanted to be a counselor since I was a teenager. So I decided instead of continuing to counsel folks and work in the corporate America scheme, I would actually start counseling people in the context of their whole life.
Okay.
Not just their career life.
Yes.
And so in 2010, I actually lost my dad, and it was awful, of course. But it really inspired me to focus on what was important to me, and I really wanted to get back to what I've always wanted to do, which was be a counselor.
Well, wonderful.
Yeah.
It's always good to hear when people follow their dreams, right?
Yes, I feel really fortunate.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is great, and we're glad to have you here.
Thank you.
I know that you've helped so many people in the community, and
Thanks.
with your expertise, it's just endless on how many people just really enjoy you as a person, and then also all the knowledge that you shed with to them. So
Thank you.
So that's great.
Yeah,
so
I
thank
really
you.
enjoy it.
So let's talk about these holiday blues that so
Yeah.
many people have.
Yeah.
Share with us why during the Christmas season holidays that the holiday blues such as anxiety, depression, and so much stress just continue to ring and ring throughout our communities, where it should be a joyous and a happy time for us.
Yeah, it's a great question, and it perplexes people a lot of times, right? Because we keep telling ourselves, this should be really fun, this should be a really great time. And on one hand, absolutely, it can be really wonderful. But that little word should really can trip us up.
Yes.
Because, you know, we all have experienced losses, we've experienced change in our life, some that we really wanted and welcomed, and some that we would have rather not had to have gone through. And the holidays a lot of times can bring up time to reflect on that, and we can start to compare, and we do the should, I should feel better, I shouldn't worry about that, you know. So that can be a real sort of, I pictured as a clothesline we trip over, right? So I think that can be one of the things, and you know, the days are shorter.
Yes.
Yeah. It's
daylight savings time,
Yeah,
just not too long ago.
Yeah, and that's a real adjustment.
Yes,
and
it
so
is.
when we have less daylight, boy, it can really affect how we feel. So we have less hours of sunlight, it's darker all around, so that can really affect how our brains make us feel. And then of course, let's not forget the obvious, right? The stressors, the budgets, the finances, the people, the parties, the drinking,
shopping,
the eating, right? The list goes on and on. So it's really a time that's usually overbooked, highly stressed, trying to make everybody happy, and we forget to take care of ourselves.
Yes, and you know, it's so important because you have to take care of yourself in order to take care of others and get everything we need to get done. So that's really important.
Definitely.
Very important. So why is the Christmas season more prevalent to depression than, let's say, July 4th or even Valentine's Day.
Yeah, there is so much nostalgia usually with this Christmas holiday or holidays that happen, Thanksgiving, Hanukkah, New Year's. Those feel like the big holidays at the end of the year, and they all come one right after the other.
Sure.
And so it's kind of overwhelming. And 4th of July, Valentine's Day, they're spread out a little bit more. The days are longer, the weather's warmer. We have other things we can do in the winter. We might not have as many options.
Sure.
And the nostalgia, I think, is really a big one. Because most of us can harken back to days where we had Thanksgiving or Christmas or Hanukkah traditions that partook, with all kinds of family and friends. And as we get older, we lose loved ones. Things are changing in the world. There's a lot of things that really can make the gravity of these feel a lot bigger. And with that, the shoulds usually get bigger.
Sure.
So,
Sure, definitely.
Yeah.
It seems like we put a lot of pressure and stress on ourselves individually as well as a community.
Yeah.
And that is something that I think that we should be more mindful as well with family and friends is remember the holidays. It should be a joyous time. Let's make it lighter for everyone.
Yeah, I think that's such a great point because not to take it less seriously, right?
Sure.
We're celebrating things that are really important to us and really meaningful and powerful in our lives. But at the same time, if we put all of that pressure on ourselves, it just feels really threatening.
Sure.
Really, fundamentally, that's how our brain interprets it, right? So it's way overwhelming, and we can sort of get paralyzed and feel like we can't function.
Absolutely.
Or like we don't want to function.
Right.
So it's really important to take care of yourself first and foremost. I love to tell people it's like when you're on a plane and they say in the event of loss of pressure, right, the oxygen mask drops down. And what do they tell you? They tell you put your oxygen mask first,
yes,
right, before you help others. And I think that's really applicable in the holiday season.
Absolutely.
Taking those breaks, making a list now for what kind of things give me respite and help me recharge my batteries.
Sure.
So that when I'm overwhelmed and in the thick of it, I can go to my list and say, oh yeah, I just want to have a mocha from Starbucks.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And let ourselves have it,
Yes, yes. What would life be like, if you did not enjoy those simple pleasures?
Right.
And I think that you were talking about the pressures, and I think that sometimes we need to come back down to basics.
Absolutely.
And remember what is the holidays really about?
Yeah.
And that's what we really should focus on that time. And then that relieves so much stress and pressure from ourselves and then other people.
Yeah.
And it makes it a much more just enjoyable experience for everyone.
Yeah, it gives us a lot more breathing room when we can do that. Does. And I think that's so important. Because the pressure comes from, the perfect gift, the perfect meal, the perfect outfit for the kids, right?
Sure.
Never mind how many dollars I'm spending on decorations and clothing and parties. And I mean, the list could go on and on. So the pressures come not just internally about what I think it should be, but all of the finances that go along with it, the gift, the list is a long one.
It's endless.
Yeah.
Yes, we can go on for days, right? Talking about that.
Absolutely.
So share with us some of the risk factors for those holiday blues. What can we do as individuals in preventing or even just being aware of, I'm getting a little stressed or I'm getting a little anxious.
Yeah.
What are those risk factors so that we're more aware of those?
Yeah, I think the awareness is really key. Knowing where I've gotten stressed before in previous years can be really helpful right now. And to really start thinking about it right now.
Sure.
It's November, it's the middle of November, and the onslaught avalanche of all of the holiday hubbub has already hit us.
Right.
So really being able to pause for a moment, put my oxygen mask on for a moment, and think about what do I need to breathe and help me slow down.
Sure.
And slowing down is one of the key things, not overbooking ourselves, being really mindful of what our calendar is looking like, because we can get spread pretty thin.
Yes.
That's one thing I think is really important. I think budgeting is really important as well, and trying to stick to it and set some goals for yourself in terms of what do I want this holiday season to be for myself. Not what it should be,
Right.
but what do I want it to be, and really be intentional about trying to incorporate those things.
And that's true, because a lot of times what you said is, what do I want this holiday to be like? We are busy satisfying, pleasing others
Absolutely.
during the holidays, that we need to take a moment, step back, and say, what do I want this picture of the holidays to look like in my life?
Yeah.
And that's such a good point and a good recommendation.
Yeah, and I think it's really important too that when I'm thinking about what I want this holiday to look like, that I can honor for myself the really joyous, grateful things in my life, but I can also honor things, because there are things that I'm going to feel sad about.
Sure.
And one of the things that gets us into the most trouble is when we try to push that completely out of our radar.
Right.
And it becomes another should, right? I shouldn't feel this way. I shouldn't be worried about that right now. And the truth is, we do have things that hurt our hearts during this season.
Sure.
And that's okay. So to be able to try and hold that and hold the joy at the same time, we usually put it in an or situation. It's either I'm
Right.
happy and it's awesome, or I'm really down in the dumps.
It's a balancing scale.
Yeah, we can really have both. So allowing yourself to feel what you feel, it's okay.
Sure. Sure, definitely. And that makes sense. It's okay. It's okay to have those emotions.
Yeah, yeah.
And what can we do? What are some strategies that we can do and employ to ensure that we have the most joyous time, the most joyous experiences, and savor it? We're able to next year look back and say, you know, I've learned a lot from last year, and I really just took a moment, enjoyed the season. I didn't get overwhelmed. What do you recommend for people to do?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I think one of the most important things is to really be intentional. I kind of sound like a broken record, but it's really important because our calendars can get so full and so packed, and everybody wants a piece of us, right? And we want to try and please everyone, like you said. We can really lose sight of, what did I mean to do this year, right? What did I want to incorporate? And so paying attention to that's really important. But the other things to really think about are slowing down. We don't have to do it all, and we often will say we should.
Right.
And
Superwoman or Superman, right?
Yes, absolutely. That really comes into play. And really trying to create a space where I can ask for help, right? Speaking of Superman and Superwoman. Call on your friends and family that can help you. And really ask for help. There's no shame in asking for help ever, especially during these times. So whether that's friends, family, a church, a synagogue, temple, reaching out to people actually can help us combat the anxiety and the depressive symptoms that we might feel. And on top of that, there are people in the community, like counselors like myself and other people, that are more than happy to create time to lend some support. And this is a time of year when we need it. So being able to ask for help, and you know, that's a really courageous thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's a segue to my next question is, during this time of the year when people are facing many challenges, does the mental health community provide additional resources during this time?
Yeah, it's a good question. You know, in terms of additional resources, I don't know that I would call it additional, but sometimes there are extended hours so that there are more appointments available. Maybe more hours through the week, maybe later hours in the evening or on the weekend. But you know, there are a lot of things in the community that are fun that we can do, and that can be really helpful and poignant and meaningful at the same time. So even if it's not, you know, coming to a situation where you're talking to a counselor like me, some of the things that we can do to really help those anxiety and depressive symptoms are helping others. So going to help pass out meals, going to pass out gifts, being involved in the community that maybe helps people give Christmas trees away. You know, that, boy, when we help someone else, when we're feeling kind of down, it does a lot to our spirit.
It really does. It really does, because number one, you're not focused as much on yourself, but also when you're helping someone, just seeing the joys of how appreciative and grateful they are.
Yeah.
It does warm your heart so much, and it makes
Yeah.
you feel great. And that is a part of the season. A part of the Christmas season is giving some.
Absolutely.
Not giving all, but
right.
because you want to preserve a little bit for yourself,
Sure.
for sanity.
Yeah.
That giving some to either a person or an entity or anyone in the community, charities. So yes, I agree. That is a good point and a good recommendation.
Yeah, it does a lot because, like you said, that's what this season is all about. And this season is about connection and caring, right? If we just sort of boil it down, and I think most of us can relate to that.
Absolutely.
And there's something really special that happens when we make a connection with somebody, even if it's a complete stranger that I'm handing a plate of food to. When I can make eye contact with that person and be grateful for where I'm at, be grateful for that moment, that does a lot, which is sort of my other point about this season is that, again, to really pay attention to what we can be grateful for.
Right.
Because the more we focus on the comparison of what isn't there, the worse we will feel as far as depressive and anxiety symptoms go. So when we can acknowledge, yes, things are different and there are people I miss or times or traditions that I miss, when I can really think about what's going on in the present here and now, wow, I can get some gratitude out of that usually. There's usually something I can find.
Yes, and I love that. Enjoy the moment.
Yes.
Because, time goes by so fast. And
absolutely.
You really have to enjoy the moment. Recently I was just saying summer was just yesterday, wasn't it? And now we're getting ready to go into, we're going into fall, but getting ready to go into the winter season. So yes, just enjoying every moment. And giving yourself an opportunity to be in the moment is so important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, the whole time along, really paying attention to how you're feeling. Because if these are symptoms, sadness, lack of motivation, that progress or get worse or really persist over time, then that may be a clue that there's something else deeper going on as far as depression may go. And that's always worth seeing a physician, a therapist, or a professional to see if you need an evaluation to make sure that you're taking care of yourself the best you can.
Absolutely. And how do people in general, family, friends, how are they able to indicate if someone needs a little bit more assistance or they're having difficulty in their life? How can we really detect that?
It's really hard sometimes because it can look so different. And around this time, the Superman, Superwoman capes kind of come out and we don't want any help. So I think really just trying to be curious with folks. If you have if you're suspecting that something doesn't seem right with Joe right now, in private always, is the way to address that. Because we don't want to embarrass anybody. Not that there's anything to be embarrassed about, but this can be a sensitive topic. So really in private, to try to be curious, just sort of observe what you've noticed, ask some questions, excuse me, and I think give people space. And you might have to ask more than once or twice because sometimes people don't want to talk about it.
Could be a difficult subject matter.
Absolutely. So being patient, but again, being intentional to stay plugged in with that person that you might be concerned about is really important. And then if somebody is willing to talk with you about it, the very worst thing that we can do is say, oh, don't worry about it, it'll be fine, right? Or you shouldn't feel that way. It's everything changes, it's normal, right? We don't want to invalidate what they're feeling.
Absolutely.
Because part of what I was talking about, right? This is a joyous time, but it can also be sad. Or anxiety-provoking, or maybe upsetting in some other way. So really the very best thing we can do is validate for someone. Like, I totally understand for you why this might feel bad. What can I do to help? And that's really how we want to handle it, because we really want to engage and incorporate what they're experiencing.
Definitely.
Not push it away or push it down.
And if they aren't willing to talk to us about their true feelings, deepest thoughts and feelings, is there anything that we can actually do for them without intruding so much during this holiday season?
That's a fantastic question, and it's really a difficult one. Because that's okay. It's great because I think we all have it. But it's a matter of navigating this really fine, razor-thin line. because we don't want to be intrusive, and we
Sure.
don't want to be presumptuous, and we also don't want to be distant and
Sure.
disconnected. So I think just a presence, right? If I suspect you are having trouble, I might check in with you a little bit more frequently. I don't want to hover,
Right.
but I might be more present in your life, whether
That's
it's
a good
just a
point.
text message, a phone call. And I encourage people, pick up the phone
Mhm.
if there's somebody that you're worried about, even though a lot of us don't want to
Absolutely.
pick up our phones
Right.
these days. It's really a good time because, again, this season is about connection and caring. And so a text can be a powerful thing, just say, hey, I'm thinking
Oh,
about you.
sure.
But when somebody calls and say, hey, I had you on my mind this morning,
Mhm.
that can do a lot for our heart.
Absolutely.
So,
I've
yeah.
experienced that before, and may not even had a bad day per se, but someone had given me a call and said, you've been on my mind. I've been praying for you, or you've been
Yeah.
on my mind, and that just got me started on a great note of a day.
Yeah.
So just knowing that people are just an arm's reach away, they call and check on you, make sure you're okay, and just someone letting you know that they're thinking about you, you're in their thoughts.
Yeah.
That makes you feel good.
Yeah.
That brightens your day.
And I think, incorporating some fun is really important.
Oh, yes.
Not the overscheduled, packed in, we have to get to every show this season fun.
Absolutely. I
But
agree.
the real organic fun.
Absolutely.
Right?
Play games.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Play a board game,
Yes.
go for a hike if the
Yes.
weather's permitting. Do something fun that you don't normally do. And I think that's another way you can check in with somebody who may be struggling, you suspect.
Sure.
Invite them to dinner. Invite
Yes.
them over to have a board game night. Be a little bit creative and try and incorporate and reach out and be supportive as best you can.
Absolutely. Those are some
Yeah.
great tips.
Yeah,
Great,
sure.
great tips. And thank
Sure.
you for sharing.
Yeah.
Now, during the holidays, there are so many people that are traveling. And
yeah.
unfortunately, there are some people that want to travel but aren't able to travel for many different reasons.
Absolutely.
What tips do you have or strategies do you have for people that perhaps they want to travel to be with loved ones, and unfortunately the circumstance they're not able to? What could
Yeah.
they do if they're going to be by themselves during the holidays and having a difficult time? What are some strategies
Yeah.
and tips that you can provide?
Yeah, that's one of the things that can really set us off into feeling blue around this time of year. Because we can't be with loved ones because we live so far away, and these days and ages we're pretty quick as a society to get up and move across the country.
Oh, sure.
So there's a lot of us that are pretty far away from our loved ones, and in some cases, we've lost loved ones that have
Sure.
passed, and so I think doing some things that are special, Skype. FaceTime,
Yes.
right? We've got technology, and this is one of the ways we can really leverage technology for our benefit. So having some face-to-face time, even if it's through a screen, can be really helpful if we're far away from our loved ones. Again, picking up the phone.
Yes.
And I think, though, sometimes, sending a bouquet of flowers, right? Sending some poinsettias, maybe, for the
Yes.
dinner table if I can't be there. Or sending just some extra cards, sending some photographs in a card, all those kinds of things that sort of reconnect us.
Absolutely.
Or, write a letter.
Yes.
Right?
That's
Something in
true.
handwriting can be really special, both in when we sit down to write it, because that might be catharsis and feel really good. Sometimes painful too, but can really help us get through that time. But it's usually well received on the other end as well.
Receiving a letter is always warm and,
Yeah.
and great
Yeah.
as well.
There's nothing wrong with some mailbox love.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm all about some mailbox joy and love, for sure.
I love it too.
Yeah.
And what I love about various communities is that they do offer outreach programs where if you are by yourself during the holidays, or even if you or even a friend would like to join other people for holiday meal or just spending time together on the holiday, there are those resources out there on the holidays. I know different churches and different temples and organizations do have that, where they open their doors up and warmly and lovingly accept everyone to come in and enjoy the holidays with them. So it's nice to have that, even though you're not able to be with family physically in one area. Of course, you can FaceTime, as you said.
Right.
Give letters and calls and things like that, but you can always be with other people as well.
Yeah.
And what is better than just meeting new people
Yeah.
and getting to develop new friends in your own surroundings.
Absolutely.
We all need that.
Yeah, and I think to that point, another opportunity to volunteer, right? If I'm going to be alone, then this might be the perfect year for me to go out and volunteer, handing out meals to those in need,
Yes.
delivering presents to needy kids and needy
Mm-hmm.
households. So it's really a time where we can be creative in terms of how it can get us out and get us in our community if we're going to be alone.
Absolutely.
And if there's situations where we've lost a loved one, sometimes it's nice just to have, I know some families will leave a place setting
Mm-hmm.
for someone if
Mhm.
they've lost. Sometimes we might put photographs out around the kitchen or around the house that are special from years
Sure.
gone by, just to sort of honor their memory and their presence in this holiday season in previous years. So there's different ways. I think it's always important, though, too, sometimes, depending on who's going to be at your home, if you are going to have guests, if there has been a loss and there's grieving going on, it can be sensitive. It's highly personal. So sometimes it doesn't hurt just to touch base with somebody and say, hey, I was thinking about putting out a picture of Dad. Do you feel okay about that?
Sure.
Because sometimes people can get overwhelmed.
Mhm.
So
That makes sense.
I
That
think it's-
definitely makes sense.
yeah, I think it's important to communicate with those things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Michelle, you have provided us with some great strategies, great tips, and just some important reminders for ourselves as well as for those that we love and share with, and being mindful that other people have difficult times as well. So
Yeah.
keep our eyes open, keep our ears open, in tune with one another, and really get back to the basics of this holiday season and what it's really about. Not overwhelming ourselves, but
Yes.
also enjoying the presence of the season and just the
Yeah.
little things that mean so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, thank you for having
provided
me.
us so much information. I'd
Sure.
like you to tell everyone, our viewers, how we can get in touch with you if they need your services here in Canton.
Yeah, absolutely. To reach me is probably on the web. So through my website, all my contact information is there. There's a form you can actually email me straight from the website, or you
Great.
can email me, which is listed there as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much for being with
Yes.
us today. You provided so much information, a wealth of knowledge. I can certainly use a lot of your tips, and I know our viewers can as well. You have so much knowledge to provide. I wish you the best
Thank
in
you.
sharing and helping our community, and I
Thank
wish you the
you
best
so
with your
much.
business and consulting.
I
And
appreciate that.
Yes, you
and thank
do.
you so much for bringing this topic up, because I think it's a really important reminder this time of year. So I really appreciate you trying to get some more information out, and be gentle with yourself and each
Sure.
other, because this is hard.
It
This
is.
hard.
It
Yeah.
is. It can be a challenging holiday season, but we wish for all of you a joyous season. Enjoy it. Enjoy every moment and savor it, so that after New Year's, you can hopefully reflect back on the Christmas season and say, I took some of these tips, employed them in my life, and I have really enjoyed the season. So thank you for tuning in to the Wellness Show. We are so glad that you were here with us today, and we, as always, wish you well.